Breaking, Britain is burning. And the reason will shock you. Over 600 illegal migrants were just moved into military barracks across the British countryside. The government was warned this would trigger riots. They did it anyway. Now 121 people are arrested. 5 major streets are on lockdown, and public trust has collapsed by 67%. This is the story they don't want you to tell. If you want the uncensored truth about what's really happening in Britain, hit subscribe right now, because this story is just beginning. At 5:15 p.m. outside Parliament, thousands gathered, demanding immediate elections. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's response? Silence. 6 minutes later, the assault on police barricades began. 3 reinforcement vans deployed. By 5:36 p.m, elite units surrounded what authorities labelled far-right extremists. But the crowd wasn't extremist. They were furious taxpayers watching their country transform before their eyes. Opposition leader Nigel Farage didn't hold back. Starmer is surrendering Britain without a single shot fired. These bases once housed our military elite. Now they shelter men without passports, without background checks, without accountability. Then at 7 p.m, the government admitted the truth. 3-star hotels across Britain have hit 90% capacity housing asylum seekers. Military bases are now the only option left. That admission didn't calm the anger. It ignited a firestorm. By 7:30 p.m, the first police car came under direct attack from fireworks. Officers formed a shield wall, but within 5 minutes, they were forced into full retreat. Radio chatter leaked to the press. Abandoning Sector 5, we are not equipped for this. This wasn't a protest anymore. This was a breaking point. Here's what most media won't tell you. Britain is currently managing 1.2 million illegal immigrants. The cost, £8 million per day. While pensioners are losing winter fuel payments, unable to afford heating, illegal arrivals are bussed to secure facilities with full accommodation. No questions asked. The violence escalated fast. By 9:10 p.m, streets descended into chaos. 92 people injured, 53 vehicles destroyed. Then came the moment that sent shockwaves across social media. A single TikTok clip showing military convoys 50 miles outside Manchester racked up 8.3 million views in 3 hours. The comments section exploded. They're rolling tanks out of the hangars. The government called it a routine logistical transport. But at that exact moment, new footage surfaced. A small boat packed with 50 people hit the southern coast. The arrivals haven't stopped. They've accelerated. Up to 1,000 boat arrivals per day, according to Border Force estimates. 10 miles from the riots, an asylum seeker centre was stormed. Police deployed dozens of dogs to control the crowd. It didn't work. Cars were flipped. 6 storefronts smashed. Analysts estimate £12.5 million in damages in a single night. Starmer's response? We condemn this far-right thuggery. I am ordering police to use the full force of the law. 5 tactical vans were deployed from quiet counties to crush the unrest. But while London police launched their counter-offensive, 4 new machete attacks were reported in Croydon. Ambulances rushed victims from the scene. The opposition didn't waste time. While Starmer deploys hundreds of officers to police riots, thousands of rape cases sit uninvestigated. When a government prioritises the comfort of illegal arrivals over the safety of its own citizens, it doesn't build cohesion. It engineers resentment. Parliament erupted in applause. Here's the data they're trying to bury. Over 50,000 knife and machete offences were recorded in the last 12 months alone. That's a 340% increase compared to the year 2000. London, once a global safe haven, is now being called the machete capital of the Western world. But it gets worse. A staggering 250,000 sexual offences were logged by police in a single year. 250,000 victims. Many of them women who are legally prohibited from defending themselves. In Britain, carrying pepper spray is illegal. It's classified as a prohibited weapon. A young woman carrying mace for self-defense faces arrest and a criminal record. Think about that. Criminals roam the streets with machetes. Law-abiding women can't carry pepper spray. Critics are drawing sharp comparisons with the United States, where the right to self-defense remains a constitutional cornerstone. In America, a woman threatened by a predator has the legal option to defend herself with a firearm. In Britain, she's forced by law to be a victim. The British state has created a paradox. The criminals are armed. The citizens are disarmed by statute. Tourists are voting with their feet. Families are avoiding central London. They see the viral videos of masked gangs wielding blades in broad daylight. They read reports of grooming gangs operating with impunity while authorities look the other way. And they ask one simple question: why does the UK government trust a criminal with his freedom more than it trusts a woman with pepper spray? This is state-enforced helplessness, a deliberate policy that leaves the law-abiding at the mercy of the lawless. For weeks, officers inside the Ministry of Defence have been sounding the alarm. Placing waves of unvetted males into rural communities isn't logistics, it's reckless. And now their worst fears are confirmed. Reports from the perimeters of these bases expose a terrifying pattern: the same breakdown of law and order, the same spike in grooming gang activity reported by terrified locals, the same unknown men roaming streets once patrolled by elite soldiers, the same overwhelmed police retreating as shops are looted for the third night in a row. Opposition leaders claim these aren't humanitarian missions. They're state-sponsored encampments for a population of 1.2 million that bypassed every legal checkpoint. Whitehall has the receipts. They have the invoice for £8 million per day. They have the crime data. Yet under Keir Starmer, every statistic gets buried under the same excuse: operational necessity. Barracks that once housed the SAS now shelter individuals whose backgrounds remain a total mystery. This is the sickening trade-off. A British pensioner unable to afford heating is abandoned. A British veteran needing care is told to wait in line. But an illegal entrant arriving on a dinghy is immediately bussed to a secure facility, fully catered, with no questions asked. Unless the media finds out. Even then, the narrative is carefully managed. Communities feel this tactical abandonment. The electorate has reached its breaking point. Because when a people realise their own army bases are being used against them, loyalty evaporates faster than the Treasury's reserves. Starmer campaigned on restoring stability, but that pledge has mutated into a grotesque reality where taxpayers fund their own displacement. His administration operates under one guiding principle: spare no expense for new arrivals. Preach austerity to those who built this country. While pensioners wrap themselves in blankets, choosing between a hot meal and heating. 3-star hotels remain booked to capacity with unvetted males. Billions funneled into housing schemes while the nation's elderly are stripped of winter fuel payments. Starmer calls it fiscal responsibility. The electorate calls it a national insult. The betrayal isn't just financial, it's symbolic. British veterans are witnessing the ultimate indignity. Bases that once honed the skills of the SAS are now dormitories for unknown men. The state will evict its heroes but accommodate the very people breaching its borders. This is how a society fractures, not through external war but through internal surrender. When the riots intensified, commanders in control rooms near these sites waited for the order to reclaim the streets. That authorization never came. Instead, the Home Office issued a directive, officers described as a blueprint for capitulation. Prioritise de-escalation. Contain, do not engage. Avoid inflaming community tensions. Community tensions is the new code phrase used to justify standing down while machete attacks surge and grooming gangs operate with near total impunity. Sources leaked the bitter truth. Every operational decision is now paralysed by the terror of being labelled insensitive. It makes no difference if hotels are torched or shops looted. Starmer's team is so fixated on avoiding controversy that they'd rather let garrison towns burn than admit their housing strategy has failed. Britain is the only first-world nation housing 1.2 million illegal entrants, while cutting support for its own grandmothers. This explosion was predicted. British police cars are overturned, windows smashed, and citizens are told to stay indoors while their towns are surrendered to chaos. Meanwhile, a new industrial-scale deception is flourishing inside the asylum system, one that makes a mockery of British generosity and endangers public safety. Sources confirm thousands of arrivals from strictly conservative nations are suddenly discovering a newfound Christian faith the moment their asylum applications hit a roadblock. It's a miracle of bureaucratic convenience. Legal teams funded by British taxpayers are coaching migrants to claim religious conversion, knowing that deportation would purportedly put them at risk of persecution. This loophole has become the golden ticket for hardened criminals to evade removal. The consequences have been deadly. Violent offenders twice denied asylum are allowed to stay based on a baptism certificate, only to later commit brutal attacks. Others exploit a parallel track, suddenly claiming persecution based on sexual orientation. The Home Office is paralysed by privacy laws that prevent them from verifying a single claim. It's a scripted performance designed to game the system. Yet Keir Starmer refuses to close the theatre. The Prime Minister, a human rights lawyer by trade, remains ideologically wedded to the very legal framework that makes these scams possible. He has categorically ruled out reforming the Human Rights Act or challenging the jurisdiction of the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. This refusal creates a legal straitjacket where foreign judges in a European city have the final say on who walks the streets of Leeds, Liverpool, and London. Deportation flights are grounded not by logistics, but by Article 8 claims regarding the right to family life. A clause now stretched so thin it covers almost anyone who's been in the country long enough to buy a SIM card. While other European nations are tightening their laws, Britain remains the soft touch of the continent. Nigel Farage argues that as long as Britain remains tethered to the ECHR, we are not a sovereign nation, we are a vassal state. Here's the reality no one in power wants to admit. This isn't about compassion, it's about control. A government that can house 1 million illegal migrants on your tax money while your grandmother freezes isn't broken. It's operating exactly as designed. The question is, what are you going to do about it? If this opened your eyes, share this video right now. Comment below with your thoughts. And subscribe, because the mainstream media won't touch this story. Someone has to tell the truth. Let's make sure it's us.